Felicity, anything to say today? Felicity Huffman, hand in hand with her husband, actor William H. Macy, entering a federal courthouse in Boston to learn her fate. Huffman addressing the court through tears. She apologized to the judge, her daughters, and husband, saying she's ashamed of her behavior, recounting how one of her daughters told her, "I don't know who you are anymore, Mom." She also said she was driving her daughter to the testing center. She thought to herself, "Turn around, just turn around." And to my eternal shame, she says, "I didn't." Huffman concluded by saying she takes full responsibility. Prosecutors wanted her to spend a month in prison. Her lawyers wanted probation for a year. In sentencing Huffman to 14 days in prison and a $30,000 fine, the judge saying, despite Huffman taking responsibility, the outrage isn't the harm to the colleges. The outrage is a system that is already so distorted by money and privilege in the first place.
You know what?
In May, the Desperate Housewives star pleaded guilty to one count of fraud for paying $15,000 to Rick Singer, who got her daughter extra time on a college entrance exam and bribed the administrator at the location where she took it. In a 3-page letter to the judge explaining herself, Huffman wrote, "In my desperation to be a good mother, I talked myself into believing that all I was doing was giving my daughter a fair shot. I see the irony in that statement now because what I've done is the opposite of fair." Huffman is the first parent sentenced in the sprawling federal investigation into college admissions cheating, dubbed Operation Varsity Blues. Dozens of wealthy, prominent, and connected parents, coaches, and administrators have been charged in the scam masterminded by Rick Singer.
We have no comment.
His front charity, Key Worldwide Foundation, purported to help disadvantaged kids in the U.S. and abroad. Singer, who is cooperating with investigators, has since confessed to taking tens of millions of dollars for helping kids of wealthy parents cheat on college entrance exams and bribing coaches to falsely designate students as athletes, paving the way for their admissions.
Hi!
Also caught up in the scandal, Full House actress Lori Loughlin, whose 2 daughters were admitted to the University of Southern California as competitive rowers, even though they never participated in the sport. Prosecutors say she and her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, paid Singer $500,000 and even sent photos of both their daughters on rowing machines to bolster their false claims. Loughlin and Giannulli have both pleaded not guilty to fraud and money laundering. The charges carry a sentence of up to 20 years in prison.
As Democrats battled it out on the debate stage, President Trump had one to himself in Baltimore.
You're a big environmentalist. Can you explain the straw? No, I don't think so. Nobody else can either.
At times, the president's hour-long speech at a Republican policy retreat was rambling as he hit Democrats over their calls to get rid of plastic straws and defended rolling back energy efficiency standards for light bulbs.
Most importantly, the light's no good. I always look orange.
He renewed his attacks on windmills.
They make noise. They kill all the birds. The energy is intermittent.
And some Democrats plan to deal with the climate crisis.
The $100 trillion Green New Deal. That's a beauty. No more cows, no more planes.
At one point, he even fact-checked himself.
We have the cleanest air. We have the cleanest water that we've ever had in the history of our country right now. And just for the press, because they'll get me on that one, I'm thinking, let's say the history of our country over the last 25 years.
With an eye on 2020, Trump also promised another round of tax cuts.
For the middle-income people, that is going to be very, very inspirational.
Those sources say those would have zero chance of passing a Democrat-controlled House. All this as the president is still searching for a new national security advisor.
I actually spoke to Mike Pompeo about that.
He ruled out giving Secretary of State Mike Pompeo 2 jobs and claims the number of candidates has tripled. But Trump says whoever he picks will have an easy job.
You know why it's easy? Because I make all the decisions and I have to work.
Here's what I don't get, is that, I get that you want to make political points with this, but, people like your family and what you represent, which, again, I believe is part of the blessing of this country, your fight is with the president that you support. He's the one who talks about people like your parents, like there's some other that shouldn't be in this country. because they came here with nothing except the hope in their heart and wanting to make it. He doesn't want those people in this country now. AOC isn't your enemy. You can go after her policies and say they don't fit in a capitalist society. But if you may not believe it, but it's the truth, Elizabeth. He's the one who's going after people like your family.
I don't believe this because I stand by the president, and the thing is with the president, he fights against socialism in every turn that he can.
But he embraces dictators everywhere he finds them.
Freedom and economic opportunities. Look, he's working, I'm not going to talk, I'm not here on the show to talk about some of what the president is doing from a foreign policy standpoint.
Why not?
My main point for creating this PAC, well, I want to talk about my main point for creating this PAC.
But if you're going to say that your fear is that we're going to have an autocratic regime that winds up killing people in the name of a political ideology, you have a president who I don't believe has any capability like that, but you look at a Duterte, he says favorable things. Putin, favorable things. Kim Jong-un, favorable things. That is what you should be scared about, is that him saying we don't want Bahamians in there because they're drug dealers. We don't want people coming across our southern border because they're a brown menace. That should concern you. But you're likening AOC wanting a Green New Deal to somebody who tried to commit genocide in Cambodia?
Look, socialism has always been disguised in these these topics of making life better, etc. But in reality, they don't work, and we've seen that time and time again. The more that you implement government into our lives, the less freedoms and economic opportunities we have to succeed. And that is what I'm going to work as hard as possible, and that's why I created the New Faces GOP PAC to recruit the future generations of the next Republicans that are going to be the antidote to the AOCs and the squad.
That's fine. But to paint them as genocidal maniacs and say that you want a better brand of politics, I'm fine with you having the PAC. That's America. I'm fine with it being funded by a lot of venture capitalists. I don't know how that makes it a middle-class machine, but you do whatever you want to do. But the idea of saying, if you want a Green New Deal, if you want single-payer health care, you're going to wind up killing people in the streets, like happened with my family and people they knew in Cambodia. I mean, that is toxic politics. You must know that.
I just disagree with you on that. I was merely making the point of...
You set her face on fire.
I was merely making the point. Chris, that it is... do you want to know what incites violence? That's socialism. We've seen that in history.
I think ads like that incite violence.
I disagree with you on that.